Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. I offer my Sastanga pranams to Thakur Ma Swamiji and Shankaracharya. Revered Srimad Swami Jushthananda Ji Maharaj, my respectful pranams to all other acharyas and respected monks, and my dear brahmacharis. So just as we have heard, we have assembled here to discuss on the topic Shankaracharya's contribution to the revitalization of Hinduism. So prior to the advent of Shankaracharya, what was the scenario of the religious background of India? So at that time, we will find that India's religious scenario was chaotic. It was in an extremely chaos situation. Buddhism and Jainism have started declining. Hinduism was again reviving, but the Hinduism that was reviving was in a very confused state. It was divided into innumerable sects. To name a few, at that time the Kapalikas, the Shaktas, these Mimamsakas, Madhyamikas, and even though Buddhism was declining, they were still there. So there were innumerable sects. Not only that, there were some rank atheists like Lokayatikas, the Charvakas, and they were constantly quarreling with each other. There was a dispute among them always. There was no point of coherence. There was no point of accord amongst them. And not only that, various corrupt practices amongst various sects, the Vamachara and others, which have somehow come from Buddhism also. So, they were also prevalent at that time. So it was this situation at this time, at this juncture of our national history, that Shankaracharya Shankaracharya took birth. So it is because of Shankaracharya, after his birth, single-handedly, almost single-handedly, within a very short span of time, he overpowered all these innumerable sects through his polemic debates that we find in his bhashyas. He was constantly traveling. That's why we call his travel throughout India as Digvijaya. He was constantly traveling, and he was constantly debating with the other sects, and at last he established the Vedic Dharma with the help of Advaita philosophy. The Advaita philosophy, with the help of the interpretation of Advaita philosophy, he spread the Vedic Dharma, restored the Vedic Dharma again in India. So it is because of him that we can still call ourselves as Hindus. This Hinduism is surviving because of him. And the weapon that he used was purely intellect and reasoning. Even Swami Sharadananda have pointed out, even Gambhirananda ji have pointed out in Mother's life, that in Kali Yuga, the evil has pervaded into the mind of each and every individual. Previously, in Dwapara and Treta Yuga, we will find that there were some demons, some demonical factors were there. So for removing them, we were in need of some physical force. That's why at that time we find the avatars, Rama and Krishna, they were using physical force to remove those demons, to remove those villainic characters. And peace was restored in society. But in Kali Yuga, we find that evil forces have entered the mind of each and every individual in the form of superstitions, in the form of distorted thinking, in the form of lots of perversions. And that's why the avatara of this yuga, whoever have came, we find that they are using as a weapon their intellect and pure understanding. So that's the weapon which Shankaracharya used, and within a very short time he restored the Hinduism. And because of him, we could have borne with so many invaders who were religiously intolerant. They came and massively destroyed our temples, they tried to destroy our religion, but it is because of the Shankaracharya's contribution that he gave us some tangible form to our Hinduism, that we still exist with this religion, which at present can claim to be one of the oldest and wisest religion of the world. So before entering into the main discussion, that is Shankaracharya's contribution to the revitalization of Hinduism, let us have a short sketch of his life. He was born in 788 AD. His father's name is Shiva Guru, mother Aryamba, and for a long time they prayed. They were not having child, so they prayed to Varakkannathan at Trishur, and it is as if the result of their prayer, the outcome of their prayer, that Shankara was born to them. He was born in a Nambudiri Brahmin family, and we find that at a very tender age he lost his father. At the age of 3 he lost his father. By the age of 5 he had his Upanayanam, the sacred thread ceremony. By the age of 8 we find he had mastered all the 4 Vedas. Just by the age of 8 he was a child prodigy. He was born with a massive intellect, with huge intellect he was born, and with a clear understanding. By age of 8 he mastered all the 4 Vedas, and from the very early age we find that he is inclined towards sannyasa. And the opportunity for sannyasa came in a very strange way. You all know that while he was he was bathing in the river, he was caught hold of by a crocodile, and at that time he was about to die, and so he prayed to his mother. So, mother, please allow me to have apat sannyasa, that is sannyasa at the time of death, or as Sri Ramakrishna have mentioned in Kathamrita, atur sannyasa. Just at the time of death, he wanted to have sannyasa, and for that he asked permission from his mother. And the mother, overwhelmed with emotion and finding no other way, he saw that his son is about to die, he gave the permission, and just the moment she uttered her permission, the crocodile left Shankara, and there was no other option. It was already uttered by her mother. So Shankara, in a very strange way, got the permission from his mother for sannyasa. And after that we find Shankara left his mother with his relatives. With the relatives, whatever property he had, he gave them to the relatives and asked them to take care of his mother, and he left for search of Guru. And by the bank of Narmada at Omkarnath, he met Govinda Bhagavat Pada, who was disciple of Gaudapada. And Govinda Bhagavat Pada, when asked him his identity, in a very short extempore verse, he gave his identity which highlighted the Advaita Vedanta. And Govinda Bhagavat Pada was extremely pleased and initiated him into sannyasa. So after that we find that as per the instruction of his guru, Govinda Bhagavat Pada, he instructed him to write Bhashya on Brahma Sutra. So he left for Kashi. After that we find he left for Kashi. At Kashi he first met Sanandana. He's his first disciple. Later, after his conversion to sannyasa, his name was Padmapada. So at Kashi only that incident occurred, which is even mentioned in Kathamrita, that while going to take bath at Ganga, he met Shankaracharya. On the way, he met one untouchable and asked the untouchable to move away from his way. So at that, responding to that request, the untouchable, replied in a very short verse, which again highlighted the Advaita Vedanta. That verse is very nice, very interesting. That what is that verse? Annamayat annamayam athava chaitanyam eva chaitanyat dvijavara durvi kartum vanchasi king bruhi gaccha gaccheti. Annamayat annamayam. You are asking me to move. Gaccha gaccheti. Hey Dvijavara, the king of Brahmins, you are asking me to move away from the path. So, from where shall I move? What shall I move? This Annamayat Annamayang, this body of flesh, shall I move this body of flesh from one place to another? Or the consciousness, or my consciousness I shall move from one place to another. As my consciousness is concerned, which is my real identity, I cannot move it. It is all pervading. And Annamayat Annamaya, that is also not possible. This body of flesh, without consciousness behind it, it cannot move. So what you are asking me to move? So hearing this, Shankara realized that the untouchable who is in front of him is none other than Shiva. So it is the same realization of Swamiji also, that Jiva is Shiva. So in front of him there was none other than Shiva. So he prostrated before him, and in praise of Shiva he wrote one stotra that is known as Manisha Panchakam. So later we find, after traveling a lot of places, he reached Badrikashram. So he stayed there for about 4 years, and that stay was really productive. In that 4 years he wrote the major portion of his literary works is the outcome of his 4-year stay at Badrikashram. At Badrikashram, he wrote the Bhashya on Prasthanatraya, that is on Upanishads, on the 10 major Upanishads, on Bhagavad Gita, and on Brahma Sutras. And he wrote the Prakarana Granthas also. Like just our Brahmachari Shantos was discussing, then this Vivek Chudamani, Drigdrishya Viveka, and many such, Atma Bodha. There are many innumerable, there are lots of such Prakarana Granthas which Shankara wrote while he was staying there. So after that, at his stay at Badrikashram, we find again he is coming down. Now with the aim of Digvijaya, he is coming down to the plains. First he went to Prayag to meet Kumarila Bhatta, who was a propounder of Mimamsaka philosophy. So at that time, Kumarila Bhatta has already entered a slow burning pyre to repent for his sin against his guru. Actually, he concealed his identity and took initiation from Bauddha guru. So, just as per Vedic injunction, one is not supposed to conceal one's identity to his guru. So as he concealed his identity to repent that sin, he was just repenting by sacrificing himself in a slow burning pyre. So that's why he was not in a stage to take part in debate, and hence he directed Shankaracharya to his foremost disciple, Mandana Misra. So we know that is one of the most famous debate, Shankaracharya's. Even in Upanishads, Bhashyas, we also find the reflection of those debates only. That debates, the main tenet of the debate is found there also, where at last Shankaracharya was able to defeat Shureshwaracharya, in which his wife was the referee, Ubhaya Bharati. And after defeating Shankaracharya, after defeating Mandana Misra, so as per the norms of the debate, it was previously agreed upon, Mandana Misra took sannyasa from Shankaracharya and he was named Shureshwaracharya. So after that, we are first just discussing the life in short sketch. Next we will go to his main contributions, because in the life itself we will find his contributions. So that's why we are describing in brief his life. So from Mahishmati, after traveling several other places, he reached Maharashtra and then he reached Sri Shailam. At Sri Shailam, he wrote his famous stotra Shivananda Lahari. It is there only he had an encounter with the Kapalika. This Kapalika wanted to sacrifice Shankaracharya, to which Shankaracharya agreed. Padmapada, one of his foremost disciples that we previously told, Sanandana, who became Padmapada, he came to know about it, and it was because of his earnest prayer that Narasimha Avatara just manifested in the body of Padmapada and saved Shankaracharya from the hands of the Kapalika. And after this event, Shankaracharya wrote one stotra in praise of Narasimha, Lakshmi Narasimha Stotra. Then we find Shankaracharya traveling with his disciple to Kallur. At Kallur, he went to Mumbaika temple and other temples like this Harinarayana, Gokarna temple of Harinarayana. And there only he initiated one boy, he was believed by his parent to be dumb. So he never talked from his childhood. His parents believed that he is a dumb. But Shankaracharya, in front of Shankaracharya, he uttered the verses and everybody was astonished. And he was a man of realization. And that's why Shankaracharya named him Hasta Malakacharya. That his realization is as if like an amalaka in his palm. It is something which is already with him. It is actually a part of Advaita Vedanta only. That the thing we are searching for is within us only. It is just like the amalaka fruit in our palm. And Hasta Malakacharya have realized it. That's why his name was Hasta Malakacharya. So after that we find Shankaracharya, after traveling other places, reached Sringeri. There he established Sharada Pitham, where Sureshwaracharya was made the pontiff. And there he initiated Totakacharya, another disciple. His name was Giri previously. So Totakacharya was the disciple of Shankara. He was initiated at Sringeri. After that, for Digvijaya, we find Shankara traveling throughout India, from south to north, debating with other sects. Not only that, we will find that he's, as we have heard Brahmachari Santosh telling, that leading the common mass to devotion, to the path of devotion. So in this way, Shankaracharya reached Kashmir at last. There he ascended the Sarvagya Pitha. Sarvagya Pitha is believed to have 4 doors. The south door was closed. It was never opened. So, because no scholar from south have ever reached there. So it was Shankaracharya who first went there and defeated all the scholars there through his polemics. And then, for the first time, the south door of the Sarvagya Pitha was opened, and he was allowed to ascend the throne of transcendental wisdom. So, that way, Shankaracharya proved his superiority by debating with various sects and establishing Advaita Vedanta. And at last he achieved Videha Mukti tentatively by 820 AD at Kedarnath. So this is a very short sketch of Shankaracharya's life. We find in a very, very short span of time, he achieved a stupendous work. He did a stupendous work and achieved a lot. So now let us go to the main topic of discussion, Shankaracharya's contribution. So what is his contribution in revitalizing Hinduism? So mainly we can divide this into 5 points. First, his literary works. His literary works is one of the biggest contribution. That's why Swamiji used to say that for any organization, its culture is its literary work. It's through that only it survives. That still Hinduism is surviving because of Shankaracharya's literary work. That is his foremost contribution. Next, that through literary work, he propagated Advaita Vedanta. So this is the second point. Third point, he established 4 mathas. We have just discussed in brief, we have heard in brief from Brahmachari Santosh, that he established 4 mathas in 4 corners of India to to guide Hinduism. And the fourth, he organized this Dashnami Sampradaya was not created. Actually, he didn't create this Dashnami Sampradaya. That it was not his creation. The sannyasis were there. Ekadandi sannyasis were there, but they were not organized. They were disorganized. They were all moving around just as per their own wish. So it was Shankaracharya who organized them and categorized them into 10 categories, named them in 10 different names, and categorically he have placed them under these 4 mathas, which we will discuss later. And their main purpose was for the resurgence of Hinduism, to give Hinduism a tangible shape, to guide the Hindu religion. And last of all, for the general mass, for all the devotees, for entire Hindu religion, for all the lay devotees, he introduced Panchayatana form of worship, which still we are following. Even at Belur Math, in all our centers, we follow that form of worship, Panchayatana form of worship. It is nothing the worship of Panchadevatas. We do it here also. For any puja, those who have done puja, we all know that Panchadevatas puja is must, and that was introduced by Shankaracharya. So now let us discuss on these 5 points. So his literary work. So his literary work, we will find it is mainly polemic. It is through debate. Gradually he is establishing Advaita Vedanta through debate, and in which the major opponents we will find in his work are like Samkhyas, the Mimamsakas, and even the Bodhas. We will find it is against them he is placing his arguments. And in his entire literary work we will find that though everything, all his work is dependent on the Vedas, on Shrutis, but he is giving prior importance to Swanubhuti, self-realization. That as Swamiji used to say, that the end of realization, the aim of religion is realization. Without realization, we cannot think of religion. So there we will find that he is giving stress to this Swanubhuti. So his literary work again can be divided into 3 categories. First, the Bhashyas. He wrote Bhashyas on 10 major Upanishads, and then on Gita, that is the Prasthanatraya, and Brahma Sutras. So, and these Bhashyas was just to interpret the Prasthanatraya with Advaita Vedanta. Through Advaita Vedanta, he interpreted all the Prasthanatrayas. And then comes the Prakarana Granthas. And what was the utility of Prakarana Granthas? Why he wrote the Prakarana Granthas? For a lay disciple, for one who is newly initiated, it is very difficult to understand the Advaita philosophy. So, sometimes we remain restricted within the terminologies. We don't understand the true purport. So it's a difficulty we all face. And that's why Shankaracharya wrote the Prakarana Granthas. It gives the methodology, what method we should follow, so that we can at last understand what Advaita Vedanta actually is intending to say. So it is the methodology by which we can understand the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta. That's why he wrote the Prakarana Granthas. So if you go through the Prakarana Granthas, you will find it is gradually, step by step, taking us to the understanding of Advaita Vedanta. Whether you read Atma Bodha or Drigdrishya Viveka or Vivek Churamani, they're all everywhere we find. It is through negotiation, gradually and gradually, we are taken at last to the knowledge of Brahman. So this is the process they are taking. And that knowledge of Brahman is, again, it is textual knowledge only. It's only after having some clear conception, that as Swamiji also used to say, that reason cannot take us to the realization, but reason is required. It is like that Satvika chor, the thief, that Thakur used to tell that story, that Satvaguna, it can take us it can direct us from the forest and it can lead us to the town, but it itself cannot go. So like that, this our knowledge, that is not the end. But if we can understand, have a clear knowledge of Advaita Vedanta, that is not the be all and end all of religion or spirituality. After that actually it starts, but for that we need a clear understanding. So Prakarana Grantha helps us to have that clear understanding. And last of all, the third literary work which Shankara goes to the Shankara's contribution is his stotras. That after going through his stotras, it is very difficult to believe that Shankaracharya and Advaitin doesn't believe in God. That is actually our misunderstanding, that those stotras is full of devotion, where a devotee is expressing his devotion, is opening his heart to his chosen deity. So these are the main literary work. We can divide it into three categories, as we have discussed: the bhashyas, the prakarana granthas, and the stotras. Next, the Advaita Vedanta, it itself is a vast thing, but in a very short span of time, here we are not having much time. So what actually Advaita Vedanta is, wants to explain, wants to say, that only Brahman is, everything else. That's in half a verse in Vivek Chudamani, we find Shankaracharya, the entire, the main theme of Advaita Vedanta has been described just in half a verse in Vivek Chudamani, that is, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mitha Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. So only Brahman is, all else, this Jagat and Jiva, everything is just superimposition on Brahman, and this superimposition is because of Maya, and that Maya, what it is inscrutable. We cannot, as Swamiji used to say, by being within the limitation, being within Maya, we cannot ask why we have been bound. We cannot ask. When we are dreaming, we cannot ask why we are dreaming. At that time the dream is real. Only thing that there is a way to come out of the dream. So that's why Shankara is pointing out that in some inscrutable way, that Maya is there. That is Anadi, but not Ananta. It has an end. For an individual it has an end. It ends. How it ends? Through liberation. When that knowledge dawns upon us, we have the knowledge of Brahman, then this jiva as if dissolves. Nuner putul সমুদ্র মাপতে গিয়েছিল, যেই নেমেছে ডুবে গেছে কে খবর দিবে. Actually it happens like that, as if that our individuality dissolves. It happened with Swamiji also. When Swamiji was giving lecture in America about Advaita, suddenly someone who was listening, he shouted, he just reacted. What happens to our individuality? And Swamiji very nicely told, you are not individuals yet. That with our present individuality, we are all limited. Actually, we are that infinite Brahman. So, it's through the knowledge of Brahman, we actually reach that knowledge. Before that, everything, whatever we are seeing, is actually superimposition of Brahman. This name and form of the universe, this jiva, everything is the superimposition of Brahman. This is the main facet. This focus of Vedanta is this way, and through this, and through various arguments, Shankaracharya in his works is trying to establish this. So here also we will find that not through work, not through Samuchayavada, only through knowledge. So generally we get an idea that Shankaracharya as if criticized work and all, but there also he have accepted actually what he did. He actually wanted us to have a clear understanding. Let us not think the milestone itself as the goal. While we are going through a road, we may have an idea that the milestone itself is the goal. These are all milestones. These are the ways to Chitta Shuddhi. They are the means, but not the end. So that way he is not totally rejecting them. But he is pointing out at the same time that these are the means, these are not the end in itself. Karma and worship, everything has its own place. Through them, we can have chitta shuddhi, but only knowledge of Brahman, a Brahmanubhuti, that alone can give us liberation. So, that way Shankaracharya has not denied that the other paths. He have accepted all of them. He have not denied them, but they have been taken as the paths, various paths which can lead to liberation, as we may not have a short sight of our vision. It's a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing for child. We are all children. As per spirituality is concerned, we are all children. It's a very difficult thing to show a child the moon. For a small child, if you this is an upama used by Buddha. When Buddha, somebody was telling that Buddha doesn't believe he's in God or like that, he's told, I am only speaking of the way. I am not talking of ideal. I am not talking of truth. I am talking of way. So what happens when mother wants to show the child the moon? The child knows nothing. It is always looking at its mother's face. The mother is saying, there is the moon. The child is looking at its mother's face. So mother at last will catch its chin. Forcibly she will move it towards her finger and tell, see, you follow this finger and see the moon. And the child will see its finger only. It can never see the moon. As it is too much addicted to his or her mother. So that's the problem with all these philosophers, all the avatars. They are actually pointing towards something. And we misunderstand. We take the index to be the goal itself. And we say, oh, Shankaracharya have criticized the other ways of spiritual path, and this way we constantly go on criticizing them. Actually, Shankaracharya is pointing that your ideal is something very high. Don't take the means to be the end. Proceed. So, this we don't have time much to go deep into the Advaita Vedanta. Just we can say that Advaita Vedanta is such a philosophy which doesn't reject anybody, which doesn't say that your path is false. It is just like as Swamiji used to say, Advaita Vedanta doesn't lead us from error to truth. It as if leads us from lesser truth to higher truth. So, the more we understand it, the more we have, that's why Swamiji used to say, you read Upanishads, how it will help? It will remove the cobwebs of your mind. What actually he wanted to say? That our understanding is having lot of distortions. These Upanishads will clear those distortions. You will have a clear understanding. So that's why we need to study Shankaracharya's bhashyas, his commentaries, with an unbiased attitude, with clear understanding. The more we study deeply, they will find that is really a philosophy which includes everything, excludes nothing. Next, Shankaracharya's contribution, as we have already told, that establishing the 4 mathas. So he established the 4 mathas in 4 corners of India, and south at Sringeri, that is known as Sharada Pitham, at Dwarka, the Dwarka Pitham, it is in the west. In the east, Govardhana Matha or Govardhana Pitham, it is located at Puri, and Joshimat at north. So these are the 4 mathas he established and kept in charge of the 4 of the mathas, his 4 disciples. His four foremost disciples were in charge of the 4 mathas. Of Sringeri, Shureshwaracharya was the in charge. Of Dwaraka Pitham, Hastamalakacharya was the in charge. And of Govardhana Pitham, Padmapada was the in charge. And Joshimat, Totakacharya was the in charge. And he asked 4 of them to protect, to preserve one of the Vedas. Each of them were in charge of one of the Vedas, and it was their duty to preserve those Vedas. So, and these 4 mathas was actually meant to guide the Hinduism as a whole. After his Digvijaya, when he somehow could, he was able to have a point of coincidence, a point of he was able to synthesize the religion, then he felt that this religion must be protected, it must be preserved. For that, to guide the Hindu religion, he established these 4 mathas. And he organized his contribution is this sannyasas. They are into Dashnami Samprada. He categorized the sannyasa existing monks into Dashnami Sampradaya. Actually, in India, sannyasa was there even before Buddha, but it was in a very disoriented fashion. There were Ekadandis, Tridandis. Tridandis, they keep their Shikha Sutra, and these Ekadandis, they will just renounce everything. They are actually, Ekadandis are the Niragnis. They won't touch fire and all. So it was these Ekadandis whom Shankaracharya organized, and they were categorized into 10 categories. So and these 10, out of these 10 categories, we will find the 3 of the categories are associated with our Sharada Pitham at Sringeri. They are Puri and then Saraswati and Bharati. These 3 categories of sannyasa is associated with Sringeri Mutt. And with Dwarka Pitham, 2 categories, Asrama and Tirtha, they are associated with Dwarka Pitham. And with Govardhana Pitham, Aranya and Vana, these 2 categories are associated. And with Jyotir Mutt, the remaining 3 categories, this Parvat, Giri and Sagar. These 3 categories are associated with Joshir Mutt. So these categories of sannyasis, their main purpose of Shankaracharya was that to guide Hinduism and for the resurgence of Hinduism, that these sannyasis were as if the monitors of Hinduism. So that way he organized the totally disoriented, or it was previously totally disoriented. So Shankaracharya organized this big force of monasticism, and in this way he helped Hinduism to have a proper guidance, a proper monitor. And at last, that we all know, that we have previously also told, that this Panchopachar Puja, this Panchadevatas Puja, Panchayatana form of worship. Even in South it is called Sanmata. There are 6. The Skanda is also included along with the 5. Ganesha, Shiva, Surya, Narayana and Jayadurga, that is Shakti. These 5 deities were the major deities. And the 5 sects like Vaishnavites and all, as we told, those who believed in Surya and all, they were all fighting with each other. They were quarreling. There was no point of accord. So Shankaracharya felt that their worship must be integrated, must be synthesized. It must be made compulsory that all the 5 deities must be worshipped, believing in what? Believing in the principle that Brahman alone has manifested in various forms. All the chosen deities, all the deities are actually manifestations of that same Brahman only. The various manifestations of Brahman. So it is actually my chosen deity is in no way different from the other person's chosen deity. And so what he did, that in this Panchayatana form of worship, he just instructed that to keep one's deity in the center and the other deities used to surround the main deity. That's why we will find in India, anywhere in any corner you go, wherever there is temples, the main temple, the chosen deity's temple is in the center, that is the huge temple, and surrounding it, you go to Jagannath or you go to Lingaraj temple, wherever you go, the surrounding the main shrine, you will find innumerable shrines of various other deities. Actually, this form of worship that we accept all, it was the credit of Shankaracharya. It was possible for, it was his contribution. He somehow could explain through Advaita Vedanta that all the various deities are nothing but the manifestation of Brahman and Brahman alone. So this is the way he organized the entire Hindu religion. So there are various objections. Some of the objections we have actually discussed, that he is a Prachanna Bauddha, it is told. Actually, Shankara's ideas were radical. When he was born at that time, his ideas were radical. Previously nobody thought in that way in the stream of Hinduism. So they thought it is most probably the doctrine of emptiness of the Bodhas that has been bit manipulated and interpreted as Advaita Vedanta. But we must remember Shankaracharya accepted Brahman as the only reality upon which this, because of Maya, everything has been superimposed. But the doctrine of emptiness is just the opposite. They have gone through the empirical observation of the world, of the nature of reality. By studying the world, they are at last describing that it is not there. But beyond that, what is there, they are not explaining it properly. They are not expressing it. They are some of the sects have told that there is void, others have told nothing. But whatever it is, they told that this world, empirical world, is not there by studying this world. So both of their point of argument is different. One is starting from Brahman, the other is starting from the world itself. So Shankaracharya can never be told as Prachanna Bodha. Many says that Shankara is having no place of God. Just be told, he wrote so many stotras. Actually what he told, see, even I was in training center, I remember, suddenly one question was put. What is that you have read this glossary of Sridhara Swami, and also you have read Shankara Bhashya. What is the difference between the two? So suddenly one brahmachari gave a very nice answer. That in Sridhara's gloss we find these telling God incarnated. And in Shankaracharya's commentary we find the word eva, as if so many times. That as if he incarnated. That as if gives a idea that as if Shankara is not believing. It is something like imaginary. It is actually not the fact. Even Thakur has pointed, Swamiji has also pointed, from Paramarthika point of view, from absolute point of view, only Brahman exists. But from Vyavaharika point of view, God is as much real as we are real, as the world is real. Swamiji gave a very nice example to explain this matter. Suppose sun is there, that is the only reality. One stream is flowing, sun's reflection falls on it, and we see a permanent rainbow. That rainbow is the reflection of the constantly moving stream. That stream is samsara. It is constantly moving. When it reflects, when it tries to reflect on Brahman, on sun, the maximum reading that it can have is that rainbow. That's why Swamiji is saying very nicely that Ishvara is the highest reading of Brahman, nothing else. When we try to understand Brahman, at the most with the help of our conditioned mind and senses, the concept we can have is that of Ishvara. We cannot understand Brahman, shop kichu eto hoyeche, Brahma eto hoyni. So that's why, because Ishvara, that's conception we can somehow conceptualize. We cannot go beyond that. And that's why Shankara, we find is clear about it. From Atyantika point of, from Paramarthika point of view, there is nothing except Brahman. But from Vyavaharika point of view, God or Ishwar is as much real as we and this world is real. So thus we find, if we have a clear conception that Shankara have included everything, he has not excluded anything, but always what he have tried when he is criticizing, he has tried just not to give full importance to the means, not to think the means is the end itself, to go ahead. Brahmachari egiye cholo, aro egiye cholo. So go ahead. So that's the way what Shankaracharya is constantly reminding us, and that's the way he gave a concrete shape to our religion, to our philosophy. So I think the time is almost over. So I think we can realize why Shankaracharya is so much of importance to us, why we every year observe his birthday, not on the day of his birth, from Shankara Panchami, or whatever day it may be, but it is one of the tradition of training center. It's a great importance of Shankaracharya's life. So let us try to follow, to understand his life from the correct point of view, and then only we can have a clear idea of our own philosophy, of our own religion. Pranams, namaskars, and my
In a short lecture, Maharaj covered Shankara's life and contributions. Thank you, Maharaj. Now, question and answer sessions. Brothers are asked to send their questions.
One question is there. Please tell us something about Thakurma Swamiji's contribution to the philosophy and practice of Advaita Vedanta legacy left behind by Sri Shankaracharya. So actually, very subtle difference is there. That what Shankaracharya told is a means of Chitta Shuddhi, this karma and worship and all. We find Swamiji as if saying that they can lead directly to realization. They can directly lead to realization. Actually, what happens when anybody practices following certain means, he thinks that is the only way. He has not practiced. In Sri Ramakrishna's tradition, the biggest advantage is that Sri Ramakrishna has practiced all the ways. He has practiced in his life all the ways and have realized that through all the ways we can reach the same goal. So I think there is a subtle difference where Shankaracharya has always tried to point out worship, karma are just means of Chitta Shuddhi. Even selfless work also cannot lead directly to liberation. There we find Swamiji and Thakur as if telling, no, they can lead directly to goal. That's why mother used to say, Japat Siddhi, Japat Siddhi. Actually what happens, see one thing, we will understand it through some very basic science. When our mind is what it is constantly flowing. That's why we are seeing this entire world. Our mind is conditioned. Whatever we are seeing, actually what is outside we are not seeing. The world is, but what actually it is we don't know. As our indriyas are like goggles, green goggles. Through green goggles we will see everything green. Through yellow everything we will see yellow. So as our indriyas are conditioned, we see the world outside. If we can go beyond indriyas, if we can go beyond our mind, if we can commit suicide, Swamiji have told, but not physical suicide, mental suicide, if you can kill our mind, then we can go to that Advaitic realization. How is it possible? How can we stop our mind? It's a very simple thing to tell. What is that? In world, wherever you see motion, there is some polarity. Water falls from higher level to lower level. Wherever there is potential difference, there is current. The moment same potential, you don't have current. Somehow through devotion or through work, you concentrate your mind, and if it is possible for us to take the mind to same level of thought. Constantly if we think in the same thought, if we can go to that ekavritti, ishtavritti, if we can go, automatically the mind falls. The mind stops. Like everything else in this samsara, this mind is also flowing. It exists as long as it is flowing. The moment we can stop it, it falls, it dies as if, and then that aparaksha anubhuti, whatever it is, the moment we can, that is avang manasa gochara, that's why it is told, that is, we tell it as avang manasa gochara, we go beyond mind that time, then only we are not taking the aid of any other thing, paraksha, this senses, this mind, we are not taking help of them, they are no more paraksha, it becomes aparaksha, then only that realization comes. Not before that, and it can be through any of the means that helps me to stop my mind. So I think that is the subtle difference, if any, between Shankaracharya and our tradition. I think time is not much there. I will give our Chandrakantanandaji Maharaj to answer some questions.
Well, someone has put this question. What is the path prescribed by Swami Vivekananda for the realization of Advaita? Jnana, Bhakti, Karma or Yoga? This point should be kept in mind that Swami Vivekananda came for the masses. I think the basic question is, whether this Jnana and Jnana Karma Samuchaya, I think that is the basic point. As he says that Swami Vivekananda came for the masses, so was Shankara. So did Krishna, so did Rama. All the incarnations and acharyas, they are not for a group of people, they come for all. Otherwise, there is no utility for the great incarnations of avatars to come. So, Shankara also came for the masses. According to Swamiji, Jnana, Bhakti, Karma and Yoga all equally lead to realization. That is his famous statement. But the question is whether Shankara accepts them. Is it, whosoever has put the question, I think that is the main question, that whether Shankara would accept this position. Basically, I think that the question of again Jnana Karma Samuchaya comes. Shankara accepts karma. But the problem is, what we understand by karma and what Shankara understands by karma, there is a difference, and a major difference. Shankara would say that for anything, any action to be karma, it needs a karta, it needs an agent, a doer. So, as long as the sense of doership is there, it becomes a karma. So, when he says that pravritti dharma, like in Gita they say, pravritti lakshana dharma, so you perform swadharma, you have a desire to, you are the bhokta, you know you are the bhokta, you know you are the karta, so it goes on as a karma. Next step is, you renounce the desire, but you still retain the agency. You still have the sense that I am doing it. Albeit, you are doing it Ishwararpana Buddhya, you offer it to the Lord. But again, you still have that idea of agency. So as long as there is a karta, there has to be a karma. This is what I feel is Shankara's idea of karma. In grammar, you see, you have karta, karma, karana, sampradana, all those things in Vyakarana. So unless you have a karta, you can never justify a karma. And if there is a karma, there has to be a karta, and vice versa. So in Nishkama karma also, you accept, you have the sense of doership, so it is a karma. But it leads to Chitta Shuddhi. Then Chitta Shuddhi means the removal of desires. Because you give up the desires, you become pure. Then there is a state when the heart is gradually becoming pure, then you understand that I am no more the doer. Prakritiva kriyamanani kriyai karmani sarvasya, and all those things in Gita they have said. So when the moment you understand that I am not the doer, then come karma sannyasa. Because the karta goes away, so the karma goes away. Karma sannyasa does not mean giving up the external physical work, but it is giving up the I-ness of the work. Because Shankara can never deny, in Gita Bhashi he said, Karmanaiva hi sansiddhi mastita janakada, and all those things, he never denies karma. What he basically says is, when you give up this sense of doership of a karma, you actually, that is the point of karma sannyasa. Because there is no karta, so therefore it can never be a karma, because without karta there is no karma. So that is the point of karma sannyasa. And moment you gradually realize that I am not the doer, like Sri Ramakrishna says, nahang, nahang, tuhu, tuhu. Moment you start believing that, you gradually have a sense of jnana nishtha. What is this jnana? He says that I and Brahman are not actually different. We are non-different. This would be jnana nishtha. And jnana nishtha leads to mukti. Though Shankara says jnana nishtha leads to mukti, basically jnana nishtha, he uses the word, not jnana. So basically jnana is mukti. Jnana is mukti. When this jnana nishtha, this sense of non-difference between I who is a non-doer and the Brahman, it becomes firmly established, that becomes jnana, and that is mukti. So I think this is, I might have told what he has been asked, that whether jnana, karma, bhakti and yoga has been accepted by Shankara and Vivekananda. I think yes, both of them accepts that. Only Swamiji does not make a distinction between this sakama karma and nishkama karma on the basis of this fact that karta and karma. Whereas Shankara says, as long as there is a karta, there is a karma. I think that is the basic difference.
Is Advaita Vedanta the last word to harmonize the world's religions? Please comment. Yes, in one way we can assert it, that Advaita Vedanta, as it is a philosophy of inclusion, it has not excluded, as we have already discussed it. And from Chandrakantananda Maharaj's point of view also we have just seen that we are not excluding, all the paths are considered as a means to reach the same goal. So Advaita Vedanta is actually the last word. If we study the mysticism of every religion, in religion there are two parts. One is the doctrinal, where we constantly rationalize, and another is the tradition of the mystics, those who have really did sadhana. Through practicing sadhana, after sadhana what they have said, there we find they are saying the same thing. As per Sri Ramakrishna Shop Shealer Akra, there it is the same. And that's why we find in Sufism, where there is the question of sadhana, what they are trying to say, it is same. Even in Christianity, Mr. Eckhart and all, those were mystics. What they are trying to, in each and infinity lies in each and every moment. It's a quotation of Mr. Eckhart. So we find there, everywhere, Shop Shealer Akra, they are saying the same thing. And for reaching that stage, after reaching that stage, we find that all the various paths that we were following were the various ways that actually led to the same goal. So in that way, even Swamiji also, that's why he gave one lecture you have seen, is Vedanta the future religion? Yes, we can assert it, but at the same time we must remember that Advaita Vedanta is not ours, exclusively ours. The name Advaita Vedanta may not be there in other religions, but the same realization is there. In that sense, as per the realization is concerned, it is there in every religion, and it is the last word of religion, and it is through that only we can synthesize all the various varying sects, various doctrines. So I think in that way we can comment Advaita Vedanta is the last word to harmonize the world's religions and humanity.
Well, there's another question. Is Swami Vivekananda considered to be an incarnation of Shankaracharya? Well, none of us are fit to say so. Only Sri Ramakrishna could have, and I don't remember him saying anything emphatically like that. But anyone can believe anything. We believe that Shankara to be an incarnation of Shiva. We believe Swamiji is incarnation of Shiva. So you can make an anumana, but that can never be conclusive.
I request Swami Sarvapriyananda Maharaj for concluding remark.
So we have now come to the end of the day-long deliberations on the life and work of Sri Shankaracharya. It remains for me to thank the two speakers, the two guest speakers. In the morning we had Swami Chandrakantanandaji, who gave a very rich presentation, which you, the training center brothers, all of you heard, on the Upadghata Bhashya written by Shankaracharya on Bhagavad Gita. He has taken time out from his extremely busy schedule as the in charge of the research department of the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Gold Park. And from his presentation, I was telling him, you have become the embodiment of the research department. So much research he has put into the presentation. In the afternoon session, we had Swami Sunisthananda ji Maharaj, who is the headmaster of our Mednipur Ashrama school, and headmaster is probably one of the busiest persons on earth. So he has taken time out from his very, very busy schedule to be with us and give us a very lucid description of the achievements of Shankaracharya as far as revitalization of Hinduism is concerned. And one valuable thing he gave here was, on this day, he gave a short summary of the life of Shankaracharya. I think that is one thing I was missing. Our thanks and pranams to both of the Swamis. Thanks are also due to revered Principal Maharaj and all the Acharyas for helping us to organize and organize this seminar and participating in this seminar to encourage the Brahmacharis. Thanks are due to all the Brahmacharis who spoke in the seminar throughout the day, and also to so many other Brahmachari brothers who have helped in organizing this seminar, preparing this venue and 4 other venues, and this beautiful diagram there, this drawing, very symbolic, nicely prepared, and so many other aspects of today's function. One very important aspect still remaining after the function, which we will proceed to. Thank you all very much.